Hello, and welcome to presentation 1 of 3 for the volunteer training of 2019. As stated in your invitation, all 3 presentations and the online quiz are due February 16th, 2019. All needed forms are included on the website, either in PDF format, or you can find hard copies here at the church. These are also due on February 16th. Following this deadline, you will receive a formal invitation to our annual gathering in March. All forms, the quiz, and the gathering are required for any volunteers who are going to be working with Restored Family Ministries in the 2019 summer and beyond. Before we get started, please be reminded that this year we are doing this big project of reorganization and updating of our records and volunteers. Unless you are a new volunteer, only renewal of forms and annual gathering will be required of you in the future. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. If you don't already know, my name is Dana Trish, Director of Youth and Christian Education here at Shreve UMC Methodist Church. Together with the Christian Education Committee, we've decided to present you with what is called remote training. There are 3 online videos and a short quiz on the material covered in these videos for those who are limited on time. With this method, we hope to encourage even the busiest of our congregates to join the team. By having 3 short 20-minute videos and almost 2 months to watch them, you can view them at your convenience. The quiz is to show us that you've watched the videos and understand the content. This also cuts down on the time we will spend at the gathering discussing information. So now we can plan to use that time for team building and brainstorming. The gathering is an important time for fellowship and building together, so we want to use the time we have there fruitfully. Because it is the first year, please note that those who don't feel confident to do the remote training on their own may join us for one special viewing night where we will watch all 3 videos here at the church. You can opt for this, but still need to take the online quiz individually. If you need further explanation, please feel free to contact me, refer to your invitation that you received in the mail, or look for announcements and reminders in church publications. And now, let's get started. You may be wondering what I mean by family ministry. Well, as you may have guessed, it is a ministry targeting the families in our congregation by reaching out and walking alongside parents, grandparents, guardians, kids, and youth to disciple them and point them to Christ. Our program is called Restored, based off of Psalm 51. Psalm 51, verses 10 through 13, is the biblical basis for our ministry. God, create a clean heart for me and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not banish me from your presence or take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore the joy of your salvation to me, and sustain me by giving me a willing spirit. Then I will teach the rebellious your ways, and sinners will return to you. In the same way, we seek to be God's hands to restore broken families to the only one who can make them whole, God. It's from this we derive our mission. Through strategic planning, heart-led volunteers, and a safe, open environment for all, Restored Family Ministry aims to partner with every person of the family at every stage of life to equip parents and empower kids as they learn and live the gospel. And from there we derive our mission, our vision. Within each phase of life, we want to accomplish 4 objectives with our families: strengthen marriages, equip parents, empower kids and students, and raise up healthy leaders. A lot of this comes from our source, It's Just a Phase, So Don't Miss It, by Kristen Ivy and Reggie Joyner. If you want more information or explanation, this is a good place to start. So how do we go about achieving our mission and vision for family ministry? Well, those of us in family ministry are first and foremost disciples of Jesus Christ himself, and we are prayer warriors for his church. This is part of our baptismal covenant. Therefore, in our volunteer application and covenant form, there are going to be questions pertaining to this aspect of your life. Our team is composed of active members of the church who are active in the community of Shreve and consistently strive for a relationship with God. We aim to be examples of Christ to all who watch us, especially the kids, youth, and young adults in our care. This creates a solid one foundation for our team to draw from, and is essential to a healthy ministry. Second, we ask for committed people to each phase of life. Our ministry must always be relational, intentional, and Christ-honoring. To achieve this, we need people who love Jesus and are committed to the call to serve others. We are genuine and real with those we serve, and we love them in word and deed. And this can only be done when our volunteers continue to be committed to showing up. Third, volunteers who will work together to achieve the mission and vision of Restored. Events, programs, classes, small groups, fundraisers, retreats, and so on will be created to help not only parents and kids, but everyone in between, to see the church as their partner in discipleship and to help their whole family live for Christ outside of the church walls. No one is in this alone, and from a team mentality, not only do we get to support and love one another, but we avoid the risk of self-honoring instead of God-honoring work in all that we do. If you're wondering where you could serve, here are just one of the few places you could serve. You could serve as a Sunday school volunteer, either in the nursery or to a teacher of an older class, to help in leading and supervising kids club, youth group, or a small group of students or parents, being part of confirmation by becoming a mentor, help by being a shopper, by bringing snacks to events, gather supplies for an activity, or help stock up the resource room. To be a shepherd or a station leader in the ecumenical Shreve VBS, to help organize and chaperone on local service projects or mission trips, being a prayer partner by praying for families by name. There are several other positions you could find your niche, or you could even be a coordinator. Wait, did I just say coordinator? A phase coordinator is someone who steps up to the big commitment to help organize and prepare events, teams, and resources for each group we minister to. Most of these coordinators will come from those who serve on Christian education or youth committees, but coordinators help me make the schedules, the program calendar, and rotations of our volunteer teams, and that could be anybody. Phase coordinators are currently and directly involved with supporting their phase team of teachers and volunteers. While I am also on the front line, I may not be able to get to everyone every week to check in, so the coordinator helps with that support and communication that needs to happen within each team. This is the goal of organization for Restored Family Ministry, but because we are still in the early stages, this may take a while to set up. So for now, keep this in the back of your head. If you need any communication or support, you can directly contact me, and I will do my best to respond in a helpful, timely, effective manner. What are these phases that I keep talking about? Hopefully this chart here makes it easy to understand my explanation. There are 6 phases Restored aims to connect and disciple to, and Restored may be working with one or more other ministries within our church to help supplement what is already being done to love on these groups. Let's go through each group and why we have them in these groups. The first group is nursery, so this is for everyone newborns to pre-K. We include the preschoolers, or pre-K, in this group because of the high flexibility of growth of these kids, but we also want to keep them with their peers during this important time of development. In the Kidmin phase, this covers K through 5th grades. We may have a few more coordinators because this covers so much ground and so many kids, but the most amount of foundational learning can be done in this phase. MS stands for middle school, and this covers the 6th through 8th grades. We separate them from the elementary and the high school because the middle schoolers are at that sweet spot where they're still energetic and wanting to have fun, while they still begin to have critical thinking skills, where they search for their identity. More on this on the next slide. In the HS, or high school phase, this covers 9th through 12th graders, and these are students who are searching for a deeper application of what they've learned in previous phases, and they're also becoming more independent. EA stands for emerging adults. This is just a better sociological term than young adults because it clearly defines the age range of this group. These are 19 to 29-year-olds. In generational terms, this is the youngest of the millennials and the very first wave of Gen Z. So here in this phase, we are encouraging leadership and service opportunities as they're in to the church. POA stands for parent and other adults. This includes parents, even if they are in the age range of the EA phase, along with adults over the age of 30. It is with this phase that we more partner and walk alongside them because they are the main disciplers of their own children and the children in our community. We merely are a source of support, tools, and encouragement for people in the POA phase. Now that I've explained who is in each phase, let's talk about what volunteers are to strive for within these groups. Each phase has a word as their goal that not only answers how the volunteer is to act toward this group, but also answers the deepest need of that group. The next slide will also give 3 truths that fall under these goals, and that will clearly define what each person in the phase should inherently and consciously know before they move forward. But remember, it's only through prayer, reliance on the Holy Spirit, and the programs that we coordinate, and how God works through those programs, that we hope to achieve these goals and truths within each phase. So let's go ahead and read them together. and further discussion will happen at the annual gathering. In the nursery phase, we aim to embrace them, to let them know God's love by meeting God's family. In the Kidmin phase, we want to engage with them, so they may trust in God's character as they experience God's family. In the MS phase, we are affirming them in their individual faithing as they discover the value of a faith community. In the HS phase, we want to moralize them to help them pursue not only authentic faith, but find personal mission. In the EA phase, we want to relate to them as they seek to understand their faith in the context of the world they now live in. In the POA phase, we want to partner with them to encourage, equip, and empower them as they disciple their own children. Under each goal, then, we have truths that fall under each goal of the phase. So nursery, embrace. God loves me. God made me. Jesus wants to be my friend. Kidmin, I can trust Jesus no matter what. I need to make the wise choice. I should treat others the way I want to be treated. MS phase, I will love God because he will never stop loving me. I will follow Jesus Christ because he gave his life for me. I will live out God's story so others may know who Jesus is. HS phase, I am created to pursue a relationship with my Creator. He knows me best. I trust what Jesus did to transform who I need to become. I exist to demonstrate God's love to those around me. EA phase, I am made with purpose and have value. I can rely on God and my faith community when I struggle. God has called me to steward my gifts to help make a better world. POA phase, Jesus came to seek and save the lost. I am to follow his example. I am to live a grace-filled life and pursue Christ-likeness. I am responsible to help build up the next generation of the church. Again, a lot of these truths and goals and phases were discovered through hard research, and our main source again is It's Just a Phase, So Don't Miss It by Kristen Ivy and Reggie Joyner. I encourage you to read it in your spare time. Now that you know the general layout of our program, let's discuss the forms you as volunteers need to fill out as part of your application and training. The Child Protection Policy, or CPP, is such an important document that it will have its own separate video. We are going to discuss the other forms that are due on February 16th. I find it helpful to either have a copy open on your screen or a physical copy in front of you as we go through them. First, let's start with the Volunteer Covenant. The covenant portion of this form is just a further in-depth look at what we're asking you to commit to as a volunteer in Restored Family Ministry. Please note that this also lists the things we require from you, including to attach the result of a spiritual gifts test. That is to help myself and your coordinator place you where you will thrive and help the ministry grow, but it is only one of the many factors that will help us to determine this. There are several statements you are asked to affirm. Please pray through this covenant promise as it is foundational to how we form our volunteer team. Volunteer application. The application is a more in-depth interview of you. This fulfills part of our CPP requirements, but also allows us to know you and why you want to volunteer by sharing your faith journey and experience in the church. Please note that these applications are kept confidential. If you have any questions or confusion about the covenant or application form, please don't hesitate to contact me. The welcome packet is also included because this is what we hand out to every new family. Of course, due to the revision of our programs, every family, even if they filled out the rough draft of this last year, will have to complete another one. The opening letter of the welcome packet is just briefly introducing the program, our mission and vision, along with my personal contact information. Within this packet, then, we have a couple other forms that are given to families. One is the contact information for parents. This is how we get a hold of them in emergencies, but also how we add them to the monthly email list. Students and kids alike get a sheet to fill out to share about themselves, their likes and dislikes, their relationship with their friends, how they come to this church, etc. These forms will be shared to phase coordinators and teams appropriately. And there's also a disciplinary form, which all 6th through 12th graders need to return within the first month of attending. We'll discuss this further as volunteers will need to enforce it. Please keep a copy for yourself to not only remind you of what we require of families, but if you ever happen across a new family, you can go ahead and give them that. I want to take a moment first to breathe. A lot has been thrown your way, I know. There was a whole year of thought, prayer, discussion, and research put into the program for family ministry, and then probably another 6 months on top of that for this program for training. And this is truly only the surface of so much research. But I want to talk to you for a second, because you guys will be on the front lines ministering, discipling, relating to these kids and their families. Why are you deciding to volunteer? What led you to it? Is there a certain phase or a program in particular you wish to serve in? I urge you to continue thinking and praying about that as you go through this process. I think you'll be surprised about what God calls you to with your heart. Before you continue training, though, I want to be clear and upfront about what your responsibilities will be as a volunteer in Restored Family Ministry. So let's go ahead and read them together. And as always, with any of this training, you can contact me with your concerns and questions. Also note that none of these are in any particular order. First, to cast the mission of family ministry and their phase. Very simple. We want to recruit and disciple people toward a mission, toward a vision that leads them to God. And if we are recruiting volunteers and discipling people due to one person who is leading the charge, then we're not recruiting and discipling them to God, we're recruiting them and discipling them to one person or to one church. So the continual cast of the mission of family ministry, the mission of the church, the mission of our hearts and our calls as disciples is really an important step in communicating to our families. Active church participation, I think it's self-evident why that's important. Continually investing time in your personal relationship with Christ, also self-explanatory. Attending training for volunteers. Rotation commitment of 1 year, so this is a program year and the summer. So 1 full calendar year is the rotation commitment term. To comply and sign all forms, including the child protection policy, to follow confidentiality rules and understand your role as a mandated reporter. We'll talk about that more in the 3rd video. Communicate with your phase coordinator. Again, that communication is very key to make sure that everything's running smoothly, but that we're continuing to disciple people to God and not just the church. To be present, consistent, committed, intentional, relational. I think those are all kind of hit throughout this video. They'll be a hit again as we go throughout the rest of the training. But this is very, very important. We need people that are not only disciples of Christ, but committed to the call to serve others. To live by the fruits of the Spirit, you can find that in Galatians 5. Be part of the prayer team and pray for your phase. Pray for kids by name. Pray for their parents by name. Continually ask them, how are they doing? And don't ever accept the word, it's fine. Continually educate yourself through church-sponsored trainings. So we'll have required training, like these videos, the quiz, and the gathering, but throughout the year we'll continue to have other trainings or small groups of books about volunteering, things like that. First aid training, those are recommended, not required, and so your responsibility is to decide where, when, if you will go ahead and join in those recommended trainings. A few other things to note that I felt didn't fit anywhere else in the other videos, but I wanted to make sure they were communicated well to our volunteers, is our planning, the schedules, and my contact information. So we have what's called a program year and a summer calendar. So our program year calendar goes from September through May, so the school year, and then our summer calendar is June through August. We aim to produce a program year calendar and hand them out to families at the appropriate times, along with the summer calendar at the appropriate time. The purpose of these calendars is to allow the families to look ahead at church events, to not only get excited about them, but to also to commit to them like they do with all of the things they may be involved with. This also allows them to figure out where their priorities lie and how much time they're going to spend outside the home and outside of school, and where their time is going to be most valued and prioritized. Volunteer schedules. Coordinators are to give a rotation schedule for each semester, and then the summer 1 month in advance to me. Copies will be distributed to each phase team and to the main church office, and these schedules will have dates, the volunteer names, the primary phone number to contact each volunteer on them. Everyone should keep their own copy in their folder or on their fridge, or if they have a planner or calendar app, to add those dates to them immediately. If you have to miss a day on your rotation, on a day you're scheduled, you must do your best to call someone else on the schedule to switch days. If you do this, go ahead and notify your coordinator as well. It is their job to notify the main office. If you cannot find someone, tell your coordinator as soon as possible. But it is your responsibility to find a replacement, and that replacement must have passed volunteer training, which is why we suggest you switch days with someone on the rotation, because then you know they've passed volunteer training. And you'll see the importance of this in video 3 with the child protection policy. So again, if you have to miss a day and you know ahead of time, do your utmost to find a replacement or switch days. But if it's last minute or you can't find someone in time, contact your coordinator or contact me and we'll handle it from there. And lastly, how to contact me. I am available most of the time by my cell phone or through my work email. My cell phone, you can text me or call me, and that number is 330-749-8511, and my work email is there on the screen. I try to respond to these emails within 24 hours. However, if the email is sent on a Saturday, I might not get to it until Sunday afternoon or even Monday morning. I encourage you to also approach me in person at church, or if you want to make an appointment for my office hours for more lengthy discussions. We also have social media accounts for our family ministry. The Facebook group is Shreve UMC Family, and the same name is for our Instagram handle, both of which you can follow and join. For the most part, our social media is to announce upcoming events and to post pictures and video of past events. More detailed announcements would be made through church publications, with slides at the church Sunday service, or in announcements, or in parent emails. But please don't try to contact me via social media. Just use my phone or email instead. Any other further communication, you can find me in person in my office hours or on church on Sunday mornings. Please be sure to finish all 3 presentation videos before completing the online quiz. You can only take that quiz once. And thank you again for taking the time to sit down with me to go through these important informational videos for volunteer training. I will see you in video 2.